The emergency klaxons wailed across Galactic Station Prime as the most terrifying news in recorded history spread through every corner of the galaxy. The Draconian Armada, 50,000 warships strong, with 200 million of the deadliest warriors ever known, had simply vanished into the void. No wreckage, no distress signals, no trace whatsoever. Commander Park Jin-woo felt sweat beading on his forehead despite the climate-controlled atmosphere of the council chambers. Around him, delegates from dozens of species erupted in panic and rage. The massive holographic display showed the Armada's last known position, an empty patch of space that should have been crawling with draconian death machines. The insectoid. Delegate Thrick scuttled across the polished floor, his 6 legs clicking rapidly against the crystal surface. His compound eyes reflected pure terror as he approached the human delegation. "This is impossible," he chittered in his translator-modified voice. "The Draconians were 3 days from your colonies, 3 days from beginning their conquest of human space. Ambassador Vorthak, a 7-foot reptilian with scales that shifted color based on emotion, was currently a deep shade of angry crimson. His massive clawed hand slammed down on the conference table with enough force to crack the reinforced crystal. No natural phenomenon could eliminate 200 million Draconians, he hissed, his forked tongue flicking out to taste the air. Someone did this, someone with technology beyond our understanding. The chamber filled with nervous chatter in dozens of alien languages. The floating gas entity WISP-9 pulsed with anxious blue light, while the mechanical representative Cogwheel Prime processed data at visible speeds, his optical sensors flashing rapidly. Even the normally stoic rock beings from Granite 7 were showing stress fractures in their stone faces. Jin-woo stood slowly, his movements carefully controlled. Every eye, sensor and optical device in the chamber focused on him. He adjusted, his dark blue uniform, the one that marked him as Earth's primary diplomatic representative, and cleared his throat. "The Terran Federation shares your shock and concern," he said, his voice carrying the perfect tone of diplomatic neutrality. "We had prepared our defenses for the Draconian assault. Our people were evacuating the outer colonies when this unprecedented event occurred." Vorthak's eyes narrowed to slits. "How convenient that Earth's greatest threat simply disappears just before reaching your territory." "Ambassador Vorthak," Jin-woo replied smoothly, "if humanity possessed technology capable of eliminating the Draconian Armada, would we have spent the last 6 months evacuating civilians and calling for galactic aid? We lost 17 colony worlds, preparing for their invasion." The logic was sound, but Vorthak's scales continued to pulse with suspicious orange hues. The Draconians had been unstoppable for 3 centuries, conquering species after species with ruthless efficiency. Their biomechanical warships were living weapons, grown rather than built, capable of regenerating damage and adapting to enemy tactics. Their warriors were 8-foot-tall killing machines with 4 arms, razor-sharp claws, and a hive-mind intelligence that made them nearly impossible to outmaneuver, and now they were gone. "Earth mourns this tragic loss of life," Jin-woo continued, though several delegates snorted at the word mourns. "We are prepared to contribute our full resources to any investigation. Our deep space monitoring stations recorded unusual energy readings in the hours before the disappearance. We'll share all data with the Council immediately." While Jin-woo spoke carefully measured words in the Council chambers, Captain Kim So-ra was having a very different conversation 3,000 light-years away. The asteroid mining facility, designated as Extraction Point Omega, looked ordinary enough from the outside. Just another industrial operation harvesting rare minerals from the belt between the 4th and 5th planets of an unnamed system. But hidden beneath kilometers of solid rock, Dr. Lee Min-ho monitored readings that would have sent the Galactic Council into complete panic. His screens showed quantum displacement signatures on a scale never before recorded. Energy patterns that shouldn't exist according to known physics danced across his displays in patterns that looked almost alive. "Phase Jump Station 7 is still maintaining the dimensional barrier," he reported as So-ra entered the concealed command center. The room hummed with the power of technology that officially didn't exist, banks of quantum processors working to maintain the most audacious military operation in galactic history. Sora's expression was grim as she reviewed the latest reports from their agents throughout the galaxy. The Council is getting suspicious. 3 different species have started asking why human salvage ships keep appearing at the investigation sites. Minho finally looked up from his screens, his eyes red from hours of constant monitoring. We need to maintain the dimensional barrier for at least another week. If the quantum field collapses now, 200 million very angry Draconians will materialize right back where they started. And they'll know exactly who sent them into dimensional exile, Sora added grimly. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. Humanity had pulled off the impossible, saving not just themselves but potentially dozens of other species from draconian conquest. Yet they had to maintain the appearance of innocence while secretly managing the most complex technological achievement in recorded galactic history. Outside their hidden facility, automated mining drones continued their cover operation, extracting worthless minerals, while the real work happened in the quantum dimensions between reality and possibility, holding an entire armada in a prison made of twisted space-time itself. Detective. Thrix 9's investigation ship, Silent Hunter, dropped out of hyperspace at the exact coordinates where the Draconian Armada had last been detected. The Klaxon investigators' compound eyes immediately began scanning the debris field that stretched for thousands of kilometers in every direction. Twisted metal fragments floated in the void, some pieces still glowing with residual energy that made his optical sensors ache. By the ancient hives, Thrix whispered, his mandibles clicking in amazement. Look at the size of this debris field. It's like someone tore apart an entire moon and scattered the pieces. His partner, Mistwalker, flowed through the ship's atmospheric systems as a translucent cloud of sentient gas. The psychic entity's consciousness expanded beyond the hull, probing the wreckage for any trace of thought or emotion left behind by the vanished Draconians. I sense something. Mistwalker's voice echoed through the ship's speakers like wind through a canyon. Fear, confusion, and then nothing, as if 200 million minds simply stopped existing in the same instant. Thrix activated his ship's advanced scanning arrays, technology borrowed from a dozen different species and combined into the most sophisticated investigation platform in the galaxy. The readings made no sense. Energy patterns that violated known physics danced across his screens, quantum signatures that suggested massive dimensional manipulation on a scale that shouldn't be possible. These readings are impossible, he muttered, cross-referencing the data with every database in Klaxon memory banks. This technology doesn't exist in any recorded civilization. The debris told a strange story. Fragments of draconian bioships floated alongside pieces that seemed to have been torn from normal spacetime itself. Some metal showed signs of dimensional stress, warped in ways that suggested exposure to folded reality. Other pieces were perfectly preserved, as if they had been flash-frozen at the moment of disappearance. Suddenly, proximity alarms chimed as another vessel approached their position. Thrix's optical sensors focused on the incoming ship, a sleek human design with Terran salvage authority, painted along its hull in multiple galactic languages. Unknown vessel, this is Captain Yoon Hyun-suk of the salvage ship Metal Harvest, came the transmission. We're conducting routine debris collection in this sector. Mind if we work around you? Thrix found this timing suspicious. His investigation had been classified, yet human salvage operations seemed to appear at every site connected to the Draconian disappearance. Captain Yoon, this is an active crime scene investigation. What brings Terran salvage crews to this particular location? Standard contract work, Hyun-suk replied smoothly. Our sensors detected valuable rare metals in this debris field. The Galactic Salvage Commission issued permits for collection of any materials not directly related to your investigation. Through the Silent Hunter's viewports, Thrix watched the human salvage ship deploy collection drones. The small robots moved with suspicious efficiency, targeting specific pieces of debris while carefully avoiding areas that might contain important evidence. It was almost as if they knew exactly what to look for and what to avoid. Curious? Thrix clicked to his partner. How did they obtain salvage permits for a classified investigation site? Mistwalker's gaseous form swirled with agitation. More curious still, they seem to know which pieces are important to us without scanning them first. Meanwhile on Earth, Dr. Choi Bo-young stood before the Galactic Council's Emergency Science Committee in a presentation hall that floated in orbit above Geneva. The assembled delegates represented the greatest scientific minds from 47 different species, all desperate for answers about the Draconian disappearance. Honorable delegates, Bo-young began, her presentation hologram displaying complex, mathematical equations. I believe we're dealing with a dimensional displacement event of unprecedented scale. The crystalline entity prism logic pulsed with skeptical light patterns. Dr. Choi, dimensional manipulation on this scale is purely theoretical. No civilization has ever achieved practical quantum tunneling beyond laboratory conditions. Bo-young smiled confidently, clicking to her next slide that showed detailed energy calculations. That's what makes this event so remarkable. The quantum signatures suggest a coordinated displacement using multiple anchor points. Theoretical models indicate you would need at least 17 different quantum generators, precisely synchronized across several light years. Ambassador Park Seo-jin watched from the gallery, his expression carefully neutral despite knowing that Bo-young's theoretical models were actually blueprints from Operation Phase Jump. Every equation she presented had been tested in secret, facilities hidden throughout human space. The robotic delegate's circuit mind processed the information at lightning speed. Dr. Choi, your calculations are remarkably precise for theoretical work. How did you develop such detailed models? Years of research into exotic physics, Bo-young replied without hesitation. Humanity has always been curious about the boundaries of known science. We've run extensive computer simulations exploring dimensional mechanics, but several delegates were growing suspicious. The gaseous representative Vapor 7 expanded its form to show agitation patterns. Strange that humans have such detailed knowledge of physics that could eliminate the Draconians, just as the Armada was approaching human space. Back at the debris field, Detective Thrix made a disturbing discovery. His deep scans had detected residual quantum entanglement patterns in the wreckage, suggesting the destroyed ships were connected to something in normal space when they disappeared. More troubling, the entanglement signatures pointed toward coordinates, deep in human territory. Mistwalker, he called to his partner, run a trace on these quantum signatures. I want to know where they lead. The psychic entity focused its consciousness on the entangled particles, following their connection across space like a bloodhound following a scent. After several minutes, Mistwalker's voice returned with disturbing news. The trail leads to 17 different locations in human space, all of them registered as mining operations or research stations. Thrix's compound eyes narrowed as he watched the human salvage crews efficiently collecting debris with suspicious precision. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to form a picture that the galaxy wasn't ready to see. Humanity, the species, everyone considered relatively primitive in galactic terms, might possess technology that could eliminate entire armadas without leaving a trace. The question was whether they were hiding this capability out of modesty or something far more dangerous. 3. Months before the galaxy would tremble at the Draconian disappearance, Admiral Kang Tae-hyung sat in the deepest military bunker on Earth, buried 2 kilometers beneath the mountains of Korea. The war room's walls displayed holographic star maps showing red danger zones spreading like a plague across human space. Each red dot represented a system that would fall to Draconian conquest within the next 100 days. Agent Lim Da-yoon materialized from the shadows like a ghost, her black stealth suit still crackling with residual energy from the quantum infiltration, mission that had nearly cost her life. For 6 months she had lived among the Draconians, using experimental biomimetic technology to appear as one of their slave species while penetrating their deepest military secrets. "Admiral," she said, her voice hoarse from the vocal modifications required for her cover, "I've accessed their central war computer. The invasion timeline is confirmed." She activated her wrist display, projecting detailed battle plans that made everyone in the room fall silent. Tae-hyung studied the holographic fleet formations with growing horror. 50,000 biomechanical warships arranged in perfect hunting formations, each one capable of glassing an entire planet. The lead vessels were the size of cities, grown rather than built, their living hulls capable of regenerating from almost any damage. 200 million Draconian warriors, Daun continued, her fingers tracing the invasion routes. They'll hit our outer colonies first, using civilian populations as living shields, while they establish forward bases. After that, they'll push toward Earth in waves, consuming everything in their path. General Park Woo-jin, Earth's top military strategist, ran calculations on his tactical computer. His face grew pale as the numbers appeared. Our entire combined fleet numbers may be 2 million personnel across 800 ships. We're outnumbered 200 to 1. The room fell silent, except for the hum of quantum processors calculating impossible odds. Earth's military had prepared for this moment. For decades, building the most advanced fleet in human history. But against the draconian war machine, their preparations looked like children playing with toys. Dr. An Junho burst through the secured doors, his lab coat still smoking from some experiment gone wrong. In his arms, he carried files marked with the highest classification symbols in human military code. The Phase Jump Project, he announced breathlessly. It's ready for field testing. Every head in the room turned toward him. Phase Jump had been humanity's most secret project for 15 years. A theoretical technology that could manipulate dimensional barriers to transport objects across space-time itself. The science was so advanced that most of Earth's physicists thought it was impossible. "Show me the specifications," Tae-hyung ordered, his admiral's training taking over despite the magnitude of what they were discussing. Junho activated the holographic display, replacing the draconian fleet positions. With complex mathematical equations and technical schematics that looked more like art than science. "We can create quantum tunnels through parallel dimensions," he explained, pointing to swirling energy patterns. "Theoretically, we could transport massive objects instantly across any distance." Theoretically, General Park emphasized the word. "What are the risks?" Junho's expression grew grim. "Complete molecular dissolution if the calculations are wrong. Dimensional collapse if we lose control of the quantum field. And we've never tested anything larger than a small asteroid." Dae-hyun leaned forward, understanding the implications immediately. "You want to phase jump the entire Draconian Armada?" "Not transport them," Tae-hyung corrected, his mind already working through the strategic possibilities. "Strand them. Send them to a parallel dimension where they can't threaten anyone ever again." The plan was audacious beyond imagination. They would need to track the Armada's exact position during their jump between star systems, then activate phase jump arrays at precisely the right moment to catch the entire fleet in dimensional transition. One mistake would mean the Draconians would arrive at Earth even angrier than before. Engineer Nam Yun-ji took charge of the technical preparations, working 18-hour days to modify mining stations throughout human space. Each facility had to be secretly converted into a phase jump anchor point while maintaining the appearance of normal industrial operations. "We need 17 stations to generate a quantum field large enough," she explained to the assembled team of engineers, all sworn to absolute secrecy. "Each one has to be positioned exactly according to these coordinates, and they all have to activate within nanoseconds of each other." The work was backbreaking and dangerous. Quantum generators the size of buildings had to be installed in asteroid, mining facilities scattered across dozens of star systems. Each installation required perfect precision, as even tiny errors would cause the entire dimensional field to collapse. Captain Oh Min-seo coordinated the most delicate part of the operation, evacuating 17 star systems without causing panic or alerting galactic intelligence networks. "We're calling it Operation Safe Harbor," he announced to the colonial administrators. "Large-scale military exercises to test our evacuation procedures." Civilian populations were moved to temporary relocation centers that were actually heavily shielded bunkers designed to protect them from dimensional feedback. Merchant ships were rerouted around the operation zones under the guise of navigation hazard warnings. Even Earth's allies were kept in the dark about the true nature of the preparations. As the Draconian Armada drew closer to human space, teams of specialists worked around the clock to calibrate the phase jump arrays. Dr. Lee Min-ho established command centers on hidden asteroid bases, coordinating quantum field measurements across light years of space. The dimensional calculations have to be perfect, he warned his team. If we miscalculate by even a fraction of a percentage, we could accidentally phase jump our own colonies instead of the Draconians. With only days remaining before the invasion, Admiral Tae-hyung made the final decision that would change galactic history. Standing in the command center surrounded by screens showing the approaching Draconian fleet, he gave the order that no human leader had ever been forced to give. Activate all phase jump stations. Target the Draconian Armada for dimensional displacement. May God forgive us for what we're about to do. The fate of 200 million beings now rested on humanity's most desperate gamble. Detective Thrix Nine's investigation had taken a disturbing turn. His compound eyes studied the data scrolling across multiple screens in his ship's analysis chamber, each revelation more troubling than the last. The evidence was building into a picture that would shake the galaxy to its core. Computer display energy consumption records for all human mining operations in Sector 47, he commanded, his mandibles clicking with nervous anticipation. The holographic display revealed massive power spikes that made no sense for asteroid mining. One facility alone had consumed enough energy in a single day to power an entire planet for a year. The patterns were identical across 17 different locations, all registered as routine industrial operations. Mistwalker, Thrix called, to his partner, who was currently investigating psychic residue from another debris field. You need to see this data. These aren't mining facilities. The gaseous entity flowed back through the ship's atmospheric systems, its translucent form shimmering with concerned blue patterns. What have you discovered? Look at these quantum signatures, Thrix pointed to the energy readings. These facilities were generating dimensional manipulation fields, technology that officially doesn't exist in any galactic database. Mistwalker's consciousness expanded to process the information, its psychic abilities allowing it to understand the implications instantly. By the void winds, it whispered. These are weapons installations, designed to manipulate space-time itself. Meanwhile, on the capital world of New Geneva, Dr. Choi Bo-young sat in the sterile white chamber of the Galactic Council's Ethics Committee, facing an interrogation that could expose humanity's greatest secret. The committee members represented the galaxy's most advanced civilizations, each one suspicious of humanity's convenient theories about the Draconian disappearance. Investigator Zeal Prime dominated the center of the room, its crystalline body, refracting light into rainbow patterns that shifted with its emotional state. Currently, those patterns showed deep skepticism and growing suspicion. The being's voice resonated like crystal chimes when it spoke. Dr. Choi, your presentation described dimensional displacement with mathematical precision that suggests practical experience rather than theoretical knowledge, Zeal Prime observed, its faceted form rotating to focus directly on her. How do you explain equations that perfectly match the energy signatures found at the disappearance site? Bo-young felt sweat beading on her forehead despite the climate-controlled environment. Every word she spoke could condemn her entire species, or save them from galactic persecution. Advanced computer modeling, she replied steadily. Humanity has always invested heavily in theoretical physics research. The mechanical delegate Cogwheel Prime processed her response at visible speeds, optical sensors flashing rapidly. Computer models would require baseline data for comparison. Where did humanity obtain practical dimensional manipulation data for your simulations? Historical records from other civilizations, Bo-young answered, though she knew the lie was becoming harder to maintain. We studied reports of anomalous space-time events throughout galactic history, but the committee wasn't satisfied. Representative Void Singer, a shadow being from the dark matter realms, spoke in a voice like distant thunder. We have reviewed all historical records. No previous civilization achieved dimensional manipulation beyond theoretical frameworks. Your precision suggests direct observation of successful quantum tunneling events. Bo-young's composure began to crack as the weight of 200 million trapped lives pressed down on her conscience. In the parallel dimension where the Draconians were stranded, entire families of warriors were slowly dying as their dimensional prison collapsed around them. She had helped create their fate, and now she had to lie about it to beings who represented galactic justice. 3,000 light-years away, Captain Kim So-Ra stood in the hidden command center of Phase Jump Station Prime, monitoring readings. That painted an increasingly grim picture. The dimensional barrier holding the Draconian Armada was deteriorating faster than their worst-case projections. "Commander Park," she called through the secure communication link, "the parallel space stability has dropped another 12% in the last week. At this rate, total dimensional collapse is inevitable within 6 months." Commander Park Jin-woo's voice carried the weight of impossible moral burden. "Can we stabilize the barrier, extend their survival time?" "Theoretically possible," So-Ra replied, studying the quantum field measurements. "But it would require activating all 17 phase jump stations simultaneously. The energy signature would be visible to every advanced civilization in the galaxy." Jin-woo closed his eyes, imagining 200 million Draconian warriors trapped in a slowly collapsing pocket universe. They were monsters who had conquered and enslaved dozens of species, but they were still living beings facing a horrible death. "What about extraction? Could we bring them back?" "The dimensional anchor points are too unstable," So-Ra reported grimly. "Any attempt to reverse the phase jump would likely result in a catastrophic dimensional implosion. We could accidentally destroy several star systems." The moral mathematics were horrifying. Humanity had saved countless species from Draconian conquest, but at the cost of slowly murdering their entire civilization. And now the galaxy was reshaping itself around the assumption that the Draconian threat was permanently eliminated. Across former Draconian space, opportunistic civilizations were already moving to claim territories that had been under conquest for centuries. The Peaceful Harmony Collective had reclaimed their homeworld for the first time in 300 years. The artistic prism builders were establishing new colonies in systems they thought they'd never see again. But this expansion was built on a lie. If the truth about humanity's actions ever came to light, it would shatter the new galactic order and potentially start wars that could burn the galaxy for generations. Detective Thrix made his most disturbing discovery while analyzing quantum resonance patterns from the debris field. The signatures matched theoretical models for dimensional imprisonment, a concept so morally horrifying that most civilizations had banned even research into such technology. "They didn't destroy the Draconians," he whispered to Mistwalker. "They trapped them alive in a dimensional prison." His partner's gaseous form swirled with patterns of shock and horror. A civilization capable of such technology could imprison any species that opposed them. They could trap entire worlds in dimensional exile. The implications hit both investigators simultaneously. Humanity, the species everyone considered young and relatively primitive, possessed technology that could eliminate any civilization without leaving evidence. They weren't just hiding their involvement in the Draconian disappearance, they were hiding capabilities that made them potentially the most dangerous force in galactic history. As Detective Thrix prepared his preliminary report, he realized that his investigation had uncovered something far more terrifying than the disappearance of the Draconian Armada. He had discovered that humanity was no longer the harmless species seeking acceptance in galactic civilization. They had become something that the galaxy might need to fear more than the Draconians themselves. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in the massive crystal chamber that floated in the neutral space between 3 star systems. President Moon Jae-in had called for this unprecedented gathering as Detective Thrix's investigation closed in on the truth. The evidence was mounting too quickly to contain, and humanity faced a choice: reveal their secret or be exposed as liars to the entire galaxy. Admiral Kang Tae-hyung walked through the corridors of the council station, his footsteps echoing in the artificial gravity field. Around him, delegates from 47 different species prepared for what they believed would be another routine session about the Draconian investigation. None of them suspected they were about to witness the most shocking revelation in galactic history. The chamber itself was a marvel of cooperative engineering, with atmospheric zones designed for every type of life form in the Council. Aquatic. Delegates floated in pressurized water spheres, while energy beings pulsed within containment fields. The mechanical species stood in perfect formation, their optical sensors all focused on the central speaking platform. President Moon took his position at the human delegations section, his face showing the weight of the decision they were about to make. "Honorable delegates," he began, his voice carrying across the chamber through universal translators, "Admiral Kang Tae-hyung of the Terran Space Command has requested permission to address this assembly on matters of galactic security." The chamber buzzed with curious chatter in dozens of languages as Tae-hyung approached the central podium. His dress uniform bore the insignia of Earth's highest military command, but today those symbols carried a weight they had never held before. Today they represented a species that was about to announce its emergence as a galactic superpower. "Delegates of the Galactic Council," Tae-hyung began, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what he was about to reveal, "I stand before you today to end the speculation about the Draconian Armada's disappearance. The mystery is solved because we solved it." The chamber fell silent. Even the usually chattering insectoid delegates stopped their mandible clicking. The floating gas entities ceased their constant swirling. Every optical sensor, compound eye, and psychic probe focused on the human admiral. "We disappeared the Draconian Armada," he announced, the words hitting the chamber like a shockwave. "Using technology we developed in secret over 15 years, we transported their entire fleet of 50,000 warships into a parallel dimension where they remain trapped today." The reaction was instantaneous and explosive. Half the chamber erupted in celebration, while the other half recoiled in horror. The Harmony Collective's representative sang victory songs in harmonic frequencies that made the crystal walls vibrate. The freed slave species that had suffered under draconian rule cheered in languages that hadn't been spoken freely for centuries. But Ambassador Vorthak rose from his seat like an avenging demon, his scales flashing angry crimson. "Genocide!" he roared, his voice cutting through the celebration. "You've committed the murder of 200 million sentient beings." The chamber divided into chaos. Some delegates demanded immediate military action against humanity, while others called for parades in Earth's honor. The mechanical delegate Cogwheel Prime processed the implications at lightning speed, its optical arrays flashing in complex patterns that indicated severe computational strain. Admiral Tae-hyung raised his hand for silence, and gradually the chamber quieted to hear his response. "Ambassador Vorthak," he said calmly, "the Draconians showed no mercy to the Keth homeworld when they glassed it from orbit. They showed no compassion to the Crystal Singers when they harvested their young. For bioweapons, 17 civilizations were facing complete extinction." Dr. Lee Minho stepped forward, activating holographic displays that showed the technical specifications of Operation Phase Jump. The quantum equations floating in the air above the delegates looked like artistic masterpieces, but they represented the most advanced physics ever achieved by any galactic civilization. The dimensional displacement field required 17 quantum generators working in perfect synchronization, Minho explained, his presentation showing the hidden phase jump. Stations that had been disguised as mining facilities. "We tracked the Draconian fleet's hyperspace transition and activated the field at the precise moment they were most vulnerable." Captain Yoon Hyun Suk provided the operational details, showing how human salvage crews had been positioned at every investigation site to monitor the dimensional barriers and collect evidence that might expose their secret. "We maintained the quantum field for months while publicly assisting with the investigation," he revealed. The evidence was undeniable. Humanity had not only eliminated the galaxy's greatest threat, but had done so with technology that surpassed anything in recorded galactic history. The implications sent shockwaves through every delegation present. Representative Voidsinger, the shadow being from the dark matter realms, spoke in a voice like distant thunder. "If humans possess this technology, what prevents them from using it against any of us? They could imprison entire civilizations without warning." The debate raged for hours. Some species argued that humanity had saved the galaxy and deserved gratitude. Others claimed that any civilization capable of dimensional imprisonment was too dangerous to be allowed unrestricted development. The Crystalline Confederation demanded complete technical specifications, while the Machine Collective called for immediate restrictions on human expansion. When the final vote was called, the result split the galaxy down the middle. 23 species officially welcomed humanity as protectors of galactic civilization, offering alliance treaties and technological exchanges. 24 species demanded immediate restrictions on human military development and mandatory inspections of all human facilities. The remaining species abstained from the vote, uncertain whether humanity's revelation made them heroes or the galaxy's newest threat. The Neutral Zone Treaty Organization called for a period of watchful observation, while they decided how to respond to humanity's new status. As the session ended and delegates departed for their homeworlds, Admiral Tae-hyung stood at the observation deck of the council station, looking out at the stars that now held a very different meaning. Commander Park Jin-woo joined him, both men contemplating the future they had created. "We're no longer the young species asking for acceptance," Jin-woo observed quietly. Tae-hyung nodded, watching human patrol ships take new positions throughout the galaxy as Earth's allies requested protection and Earth's enemies prepared for potential conflict. "We've become something the galaxy will either respect or fear. There's no middle ground anymore." In the parallel dimension, where the Draconian Armada remained trapped, 200 million warriors continued their slow march toward dimensional collapse, unaware that their fate had just reshaped galactic civilization forever. The galaxy now knew that humanity possessed the power to eliminate entire civilizations without leaving a trace. The draconian threat was ended, but the age of human dominance had begun. Whether that would bring peace or a new kind of war remained to be seen. In the stars that now watched humanity with very different eyes, the end